Hey guys, you know, I was at the nursery the other day and they had some planter boxes on sale, believe it or not, and they were like 89 bucks. And I was looking at them and I thought, you know, I'd love to have a couple of those boxes, but I just don't want to pay $89. Now, granted, they were really nice, but I thought, you know, I could build one of those. So what I did was I went online, I went to YouTube, and I started looking around, and I came across this one guy. His name is Steve Ramsey. He's a woodworker. And he built a fairly nice planter box. And I kind of went off of his idea. I changed it up a little bit. He went with pine, I went with cedar, and I made a couple other changes. But this is what I came up with. So I'm going to show you guys how I built this. Okay, so for this project I decided to go with all cedar. Now you could go with just pine, but pine isn't going to last very long, and cedar looks so much nicer. It is a little bit more expensive, but I don't think it's that much more. So this thing should last quite a few years. Now the first thing you're going to need one 8-foot 1x4, and I just got the cheap stuff. I picked this up for just a couple bucks. And I'm going to rip this into, instead of 4 inches wide, I'm going to rip it down to 3 inches on the table saw. And next thing you're going to need is a 8-foot 4x4 cedar. Cut this into quarters so you'll have 4 2-foot pieces. And then for the uprights, I decided to use something a little nicer, something that had a lot of color to it. I was thinking about going with some more of this 1x, but then I saw this closet liner, and it's Western red cedar, and I decided to go with this. I picked this up for a song. It was only like 12 bucks on sale, and I could make quite a few boxes out of this one box, so I decided to go with this. Now, this stuff here is tongue and groove. Now, basically what that is that you've got one side that has a notch, you know, a groove in it, and the other side has a tongue that protrudes, that kind of slides into, you know, into the groove like that. So they kind of fit together. Now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually on the table saw rip this tongue off. Now the reason being is because when you marry these things together like this, if one of the pieces decides to warp, they're all going to warp together. So I don't want to do that. I want these kind of be free floating on their own, so if one of them breaks or decides to warp, I can just replace it very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now with this 1x4, after I rip it into 3 inches wide, I'm going to cut 4 11¼ pieces out of it. So I'll get 8 pieces out of this, 11¼ inches long. So alright, I'm going to go ahead and rip these and cut them, and then we'll start assembling. Okay, so I cut each one of my uprights at 12½ inches. I was going to cut them a little bit longer, and then as I laid my side pieces out, I would just put 3 along like this, and then 3 upright, and just kind of, you know, tack it to the back. Then I decided I wanted to, you know, be a little fancy, make it look a little nicer. So what I did was I took each one of these, and with my table saw, I just, you know, kind of, you know, put a little channel in here so that each one of these side pieces would go up inside like this. So I would get 3 on here, and then they would stand up like this. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble. Here's one here that I did. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and do all 4 of these, and then I will attach these to the 4x4s. Okay, so here are all 4 pieces. Now what I did was I went ahead and just put some really dinky finish nails in here just to hold this together while I'm going to attach these to the 4x4. So there they are. Okay, so now I think this is where we kind of ask ourselves, what is the best method to attach these? I thought of a couple things. I mean, I thought of putting them in here and then toenailing into here, but we have to remember this is cedar, and cedar is really soft, so I'm not going to screw in here with like pocket screws or whatever. I'm not going to do that. My second thought was to put, you know, little angle brackets right here on all 4 corners, and I could do that. I think that would turn out well. But I think the third method that I came up with, and I think the one I'm going to use, is I'm going to drill holes in each one of these and use dowels and attach it with dowels like that, and just glue it just like this. Alright, so I'm going to give that a shot. Okay, so now to mark my holes for my dowels, what I want to do is I want to come down 1.5 inches here, and then down to 16 here. So what I want to do is, first off, I want to come down 1.5 inches and then 16 right there. Then I'm going to find the center with my center rule, and it looks like right there is my center, and then down here is right there. So I need to put a hole here and a hole here. Okay, so I've decided to attach these side pieces with using dowels. Now what I'm going to do is use these 3/8 by 1.5 inch dowel plugs. So I need to take and drill a hole 3/4 of an inch deep, a 1/2 inch hole 3/4 of an inch deep. So this plug will go in halfway, and then the plug will go into the other side, and I'll glue these together, and this will sit just like this. Okay? Alright, so I'll get my drill. Okay, so now I've got my 3/8 drill bit, and I have a piece of tape up 3/4 of an inch, so I'll know how deep to go into the hole. Okay? Stay. Okay, perfect. I'm going to drop some glue in there, pound that in, and then on this one here, on the side pieces, what I'm going to do is come down to center on here, and you can do that by drawing an X from this corner to this corner, that corner to that corner, and you'll find the exact center on this. Okay? So, what we want to do is go from here to here, like that, and then from here to here, just like that. And right there is my center. I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole here. Now, what you might want to do is take a small drill bit first and go in here. But see, right there, that's going to be my hole. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a smaller bit and drill this first, because the thing you have to remember is this is very soft wood, and this wood will just blow right out. So I'm going to go ahead and get a smaller drill bit and drill a pilot hole first. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drop some glue in each one of these holes here, and then I'm going to drive these in. Okay, I'm going to drive these in. Okay, that looks like about halfway. Now I've got both of my holes drilled in this, and when I do this one here, I'm going to make sure I do a dry fit first. So I'm going to let I'm going to wipe this off, and I'm going to let these plugs dry here for a couple hours. And then when I put this on, I want to make sure that it goes all the way down first and sits nice and snug. Because if I go ahead and glue this and I was off on my depth on either one of these, it's not going to sit all the way down. So I want to make sure, I'd rather that the holes were deeper than they need to be, rather than have this kind of stick up like this and got the glue in there and not be able to get it drilled again. So I'm going to go ahead and, it looks like this is going to fit perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry, and then we'll throw this on. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and drop a bunch of glue on this. Now I'm not too worried about being messy right here, because I would like to have a little bit of glue around the plug also, so that it attaches right to this. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little glue on this. I don't want to put too much in the holes right here, because when I turn this thing upside down, it'll drip onto the 4x4. Okay, so I dry fitted this to make sure that it fits, and we pound this in. Alright, now there we go on that one. And I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll scrape that extra off of there. Alright, looks good. Okay, so here it is, assembled, glued, and clamped. I'm going to let this thing stay clamped for a couple hours, and then I'll go ahead and take it apart and we'll finish it up. Okay, well there it is, guys, my version of a planter box. Now there's a couple things that I didn't show you in the video. One thing is, on the bottom I put a couple 2x4s running across to hold whatever I put inside. Now you could, you know, I guess you could make it flat inside and fill it with dirt, but I didn't want to do that. So the second thing I did was, I just took a regular old garbage bag, and the garbage bag is going to get filled up, and then I'll just put a couple holes in the bottom of the garbage bag, and then I'll just plant inside the garbage bag. That way the dirt won't be touching the wood, and it won't get so nasty. Now you also could take a, you could change the size any way that you want, and you could put, like, make it for a pot. So you could just set a pot inside of here and then grow out of that. But anyways, there's my version of the planter. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll catch you all later. Be sure to stop over to growyourheirlooms.com, where we have podcasts, gardening Q&A, tips on year-round gardening, survival gardening, and current projects that are going on.